Well, this is wonderful. A reporter broke the news to Trump that behind your back, people are calling you an embarrassing thing. And Trump didn't like it at all. We'll look at different moments. This was the swearing in as interim U.S. attorney in D.C. of Jeanine Pirro.
Okay, I'm going to throw up. I'm throwing up. You're making me throw up.
Jeanine Pirro of Fox News fame. That's just the new thing now. There's like over a dozen. There's so many former Fox hosts and Fox people who are now in Trump's administration. They tried to call the CNNs of the world state TV when Biden was president. This is state TV. They literally just switch off between being Fox hosts and working directly for Trump. And they're fair and balanced. But again, for context before playing this clip and others, the New Republic reports Trump branded with embarrassing nickname over tariff confusion. What could it be? It's Taco. Taco is the new name. Wall Street is beginning to understand the president's roller coaster foreign trade decisions with the help of a trendy acronym, TACO, or Trump always chickens out. The TACO theory was coined earlier this month by Financial Times columnist Robert Armstrong, adding a catchy name to the practice of loading up on stocks when Donald Trump first announces the tariffs and then selling when he ultimately backtracks on enforcing them. Oh gosh, this is just a crazy world we're in, where now the U.S. president's instability is a trading strategy. Here's him being notified that people are mocking him in that way and that we're all having to live through his taco thing. And Jeanine Pirro is very happy behind him throughout the whole thing.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set?
Chicken out. You talking about the eggs? The egg prices are very low, so low. Gasoline prices so low. Interest rates so
down to 100 and then down to another number. And I said, you have to open up your whole country. And because
and they didn't.
I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff. And they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till Jeanine. I actually asked them, I said, what's the...
Jeanine. I told them you have until vagina 9th. I mean, July. Sorry, gosh.
Up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till Jeanine. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. Biden.
Did you say 14 trillion? Is that what the number is now? All right, cool. Every time he says it, it's another trillion higher, but with no new announcements. It's great.
This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me. He said, you got the hottest, we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, you know, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, you know, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%.
This reminds me a lot of his electrocution or shark rant. He's just kind of saying words. Yeah, and so they're wanting me. So they're saying, you're saying chicken. What a nasty question. They said, oh, I went up and fentanyl, I tariff fentanyl and it went up. And so then when we go down, they say, oh, that's bad. But I'm going down. But I said I wasn't going down because I was trying to make them think that it was going to go up. If we go down, then they'll actually have to come up to go down into us. And then we'll have it all completed on vagina 9th, July 9th. With the EU, because of we brought $60 trillion into the US, actually. If you didn't hear. Sheesh.
And I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, you know, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business. Because
Turkey?
this is turkey time. You know, this is now, we're talking turkey. Because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest question. Wait a minute. Wait. Go ahead, please.
He attacks the reporter. She didn't come up with that. That's a Wall Street term. Trump always chickens out. That's their thing to understand how to trade in this uncertain environment. That your lack of predictability has become so predictable, which is the point. That's a nasty question. Don't ever ask me that again. I did. If you'll zoom back in, Jaden, on Jeanine Pirro's face, take a look. Just while I won't even play the clip anymore. Just watch kind of as she's living it up next to him. I don't think she is, but this is how she would look if she were absolutely baked during this. She's just kind of looking around and wondering what he possibly could be saying. And they all try to act like they're not weirded out by what's being said, but they are. We can stop it there. Jaden, that's really funny. But let's move on from that because somehow this presser got even more bizarre. Trump getting asked about his actions against Putin. Their rhetoric has been escalating. Will you implement sanctions, enhanced sanctions, for example, to pressure him into peace? And Trump says,
Mr. President, on Russia.
By the way, while we go through this segment, please do click the subscribe button. As a reminder, if you go to the podcast tab on the YouTube homepage or the live tab on the YouTube homepage, you'll find our morning broadcast that we do. We broadcast it live, but you can watch it whenever it's left there. And we had a very fun one this morning.
Mr. President, on Russia. Mr. President.
Please.
Do you believe the Russians are being disrespectful when they say that your criticisms of Putin are simply an emotional response? And do you still believe that Putin actually wants to end the war?
I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we're going to find out very soon. We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along.
Last week, he said 2 weeks. Last week, he said 2 weeks. So now that would be 1 week. But now he's saying it's 2 weeks still. It's always 2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks. I need to start doing this in my personal life. Luke, the IRS, when are you going to pay your taxes? 2 weeks. Don't worry about it. I'll get in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later. All right, are you paid? 2 weeks. Don't worry about it. I'll get it. The guys, Luke, when are you going to pay us? 2 weeks. All right, 2 weeks. I'll get it to you. Don't worry. Unbelievable.
Or not, and if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently, but it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job.
Terrible job.
He's dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you. Nobody can. I can say this. That I'm very disappointed at what happened a couple of nights now where people were killed in the middle of what you would call a negotiation. I'm very disappointed by that. Very, very disappointed. Yeah, please.
I mean, even still, when Putin continues the war, he says he's disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Whenever it's Zelensky, he shouts at him in front of the whole world, even though Zelensky is the one defending him. So that absurdity is still there. But I guess Trump's finally getting upset with Putin. But we can't really believe that until he actually does something, puts some sort of pressure. And the whole we're engaged in negotiations. No, you're not, though. You're really not. Every single time you have a negotiation victory, it's literally you coming out and saying Putin has agreed to begin negotiations. We've had that announcement like 3 times now. A message from the White House. Donald J. Trump, the U.S. president, has announced after his call with Vladimir Putin that amid U.S. negotiations with Russia to end the war in Ukraine, Putin has confirmed he will begin negotiations with the United States. Wait, a week later, a message from the White House. And every time we're supposed to celebrate that. But clearly Putin's just using this as a way to elongate the war. Then more.
President, you said
It's having to do with Iran. We're having very good talks with
Mr. President, you said yesterday that Putin is playing with fire. What will be the consequences for Russia if Russia continues?
Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly, but the word speak.
I will tell you in 2 weeks, though.
Speak pretty loud. We're not happy about that situation. I think we're.
Okay, so he's kind of repetitive on all of that. The last thing on the Russia piece I do want to address is him saying, or being asked, you said this never would have happened. Now that you're seeing Putin disregard all of your requests of him, do you still believe it never would have happened?
Like when I see rockets being shot into cities, that's no good. We're not going to allow it.
You've always said that the war never would have started if you were
Would have
president.
never happened, and it
yet
didn't
he doesn't seem
happen.
willing to do anything that you want him to do. Do you still believe that he wouldn't have launched the war?
No, we would have never had a war. We would have never had a war. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had the war. You wouldn't have had inflation. You wouldn't have had October 7th. That would have never happened because Iran was stone cold broke. They didn't have any money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah. You wouldn't have had that Afghanistan most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had.
If I were president, you would be able to eat any amount of calories and not get obese. If I were president, you would never have to sit next to someone on a flight who talks to you too much. If I were president, you would never have to go to the gym again and you would look so hot like America. If I were president, you would... What else? You would never have to talk about politics with that one relative. If I were president... Yeah, we know. The unfalsifiable claims, he loves them so well. He loves them so well. And then on a different subject, here's more.
And it's tough enough. They approved that. They allowed that to happen to our country. We don't have one Democrat vote. And if I were a Democrat, I'd be voting for this bill and I'd get elected to any position I want as a Democrat. They're crazy. They're voting for a 65% tax increase. And they're only doing it for hatred. They're not doing it for any reason. They know it's terrible. Terrible politics, in my opinion. But so we have no Democrat votes. That means we have to get almost all Republican votes. And I think we're very close to doing that. I think it'll be.
So that's about his reconciliation bill. It should give you some hope, honestly, that that's his argument about the bill, which is that, like, going into the midterms, the argument's going to be Democrats only voted against this bill because they hate me, and Republicans are the heroes for passing it. Keep saying that. Republicans are the only ones who passed that. Trump. This is Trump's bill, and Democrats fought it every step of the way. Just repeat that as much as you can, Trump. Democrats fought it. They said, Obama blankets, Trump javelins, right? It's like that. Democrats fought it. Republicans wanted it. It's like one of those phrases. And I know too much about how Trump speaks. It's really it's bad. It's bad how I'll be walking around and just phrases he said go through my head. It's not good. I have Trump derangement syndrome. I admit it. Please diagnose me, doctor. I have it. Because in the midterms, people are going to be voting on a few things, and one of them is that bill. The fact that you, like you just said, Trump, Republicans and you, much to the chagrin of Democrats, passed a bill that was one of the greatest redistributions of wealth from the bottom to the top. And low-income Americans literally lost wealth in that bargain as the wealthiest gained. Please keep slapping your Trump label on that. He keeps, you know how he says, we brought in a zillion trillion from this country and that country, and then you look at the numbers, it's like, that's not true at all. He does the same thing with what margin he won voting blocks by, or if he even won that block. So he said he won young voters by 37% when he lost the youth vote.
On Nippon Steel, this arrangement that was just announced in the golden share, is that an arrangement you would consider for TikTok as well?
Nothing to do with TikTok, totally different kind of a deal. We'll have to get, to do it properly, we'll probably have to get China's approval. China's never easy. China's never easy. But I think we'll be able to save TikTok. I'd like to save TikTok. I mean,
TikTok. This is TikTok.
This is TikTok.
You see what I mean? It just runs through my head. Did you hear that this time? Did you just hear Trump say this is TikTok, or is that just in my head? I can't tell.
TikTok was very good to me. I won the young people by 37%. No Republicans ever won. And
Who told him that? Why does he keep saying that? I won the young vote by 30. You lost the young vote. What you're remembering, kind of, is that you narrowly won the young male vote, but it wasn't by 37 points, and you didn't win the young vote. It's just like how he says this statement.
This isn't my war. This is Biden's war, Zelensky's war, and Putin's war. This isn't Trump's war. I'm only here for one thing, to see if I can end it, to save 5,000 lives a week and a lot of money. The money being much less important, because I made that money. I went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, and we brought back $5.1 trillion. So I made that money in about 2.
It was $4 trillion last week, and the trip was over last week. So I don't know how in the meantime, but that's normal to you, right? You go, oh yeah, 5 trillion, sure, whatever. I mean, I know that's not true, but fine. He said it. Let's move on. No. Let's not move on. Jaden, let me show you. I have a new personal best on bench press.
No way. What is it?
Yeah. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
I'm just pushing all the time. Let me just check. I wrote it down somewhere. I did for a 5x5, 5 reps for 5 sets. I did 1,000 pounds.
Oh.
I did 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds.
1 week later, Jaden, I have a new personal best.
What is it?
I don't know why he's giggling. It's weird.
What is it?
He's my gym brother. Just let's talk about gym things. I lifted 3,000 pounds on bench press, 5x5.
We're not gym partners anymore.
The reason, like, that is so weird. Like, I guess if I actually said that to you, Jaden, you would just laugh because it would obviously be a joke. But that's the equivalent. I mean, maybe that's even less absurd, given the scale of the numbers Trump will distort. I'm saying, if I started to try to genuinely convince Jaden I lifted 3,000 pounds on bench press, he would just have to stop associating with me, because I'd probably be like schizophrenic or something. Like I'm living in some weird fake world. But that's Trump. That's Trump. What you just watched, that's exactly how Trump acts with the American people, with even bigger numbers and lies. And this was my point about, excuse me as I'm spitting, let's talk about the Biden decline story. I think it's important. I've been trying to do introspection about how I can be the best commentator I can and learn from that experience about which things I missed, what was accurate reporting, etc., and how to be the best. And I think we as an electorate want to learn from, okay, what went wrong there that contributed to Trump winning? How can we make sure that, while not rewriting history and ignoring the positive things that happened in the Biden years, also telling the whole story, but then also let's move forward and right? But I don't really want to get into that, like Jake Tapper calling up Laura Trump and saying, I'm sorry, you were right about Biden. No, she was just saying everything she possibly could and lied about a bazillion other Biden-related things. You can't then act like they're more honest actors than they are because of that piece of the story. So yeah, I want to push ourselves to be as accurate as humanly possible and be better every day. And we shouldn't be looking to our opponents as the arbiters of truth, because they have proven themselves to be so utterly dishonest. Our route to refining our articulation of politics in the most accurate to the truth way possible is not by going and apologizing to or rubbing elbows with the likes of Laura Trump or Donald Trump, who just casually tells the most blatant lies you could possibly imagine. And yes, Jeanine Pirro did end up getting sworn in. You can see that here. Yikes. Yikes is all I can say. Share your thoughts in the comments.